Tonight, Trump triumphs. Defying his critics and that criminal conviction, his comeback is crushing for opponents.
This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again.
We'll assess what a half-Scottish president back in the White House means for Scotland. Also making the headlines, the fireworks battle. Trouble flares on bonfire nights as the emergency services are targeted. In sport, after Celtic's impressive win over RB Leipzig, Callum McGregor says they've proved they belong in the Champions League. While the Hearts boss, Neil Critchley, says his team can also go toe-to-toe with Bundesliga opposition as they prepare to face Heidenheim in the Conference League. And a whale of a tale, the dramatic life-saving rescue of a humpback trapped in fishing gear in Loch Fyne. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Donald Trump has sailed to victory in the US elections, making a historic return, becoming the 47th president. It is a remarkable comeback. The First Minister has sent congratulations despite endorsing his rival Kamala Harris. John Swinney also says he's happy to meet Mr. Trump if he comes to Scotland. Donald Trump is, of course, half Scottish. But the newly elected president is also threatening to reimpose hefty tariffs on foreign goods, potentially hitting Scotch whisky. Our political reporter Laura Alderman has the story.
It is now official. CNN projects that Donald Trump has been elected president.
In the early hours of this morning, and in contrast to the polls, it became abundantly clear the choice Americans had made. Donald Trump will return to the White House after achieving a staggering victory over his Democrat rival Kamala Harris.
This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again.
But just hours earlier, the night was in full swing in this Edinburgh pub. American voters gathered, watched and waited for the results.
Feeling really nervous. Obviously, there's been a lot leading up to this day, but I think I'm overall cautiously optimistic.
Not concerned. I know it's been neck to neck, but honestly, I feel like I have faith in my country, and I have faith that we are going to make it through this election with a president we can be proud of.
But in the cold light of day, the world and the First Minister began distilling the news. During the last Trump presidency, big tariffs were placed on imports of single malt Scotch whisky. He's now likely to do it again, but include all foreign-made goods.
Tariffs can be very damaging to domestic employment within Scotland because we are an exporting country, not just in relation to whisky. Whisky's a seminal export product from Scotland, but we have other strengths in food and drink and in manufacturing and in various innovative technologies where the existence of tariffs could be a significant factor for the health and the prosperity of employment within Scotland.
With America as one of Scotland's biggest export markets, business owners at this summit in Edinburgh say they'd like a no-strings approach to trade.
Presidents come and presidents go, so we'll have to wait and see what comes forward. And the reality is, and I'm sure his advisors will make this case to him, that tariffs will punish the American man and women on the street as much as they will those looking to import their goods.
Experts here warn Trump's victory could have serious consequences for the climate, diplomacy and the war in Ukraine, which he vowed to end within 24 hours.
There is so much uncertainty, and if I were Ukrainian, I would be the most concerned. The UK and Scotland can bond with other European partners to build up a more collective response to America's quite certainly nationalist policy would be very effective.
President Trump plans to open a second golf course in Aberdeenshire next year. Supporters at his existing one are celebrating today.
We know the man. I know the man. I've worked with him and his family for the last 15 years. They are deeply committed and unwavering in their support for Scotland, and he has demonstrated that he is unwavering in his support and strength and conviction to take America forward.
Trump's win marks an astonishing comeback. There's now 4 more years to wait and see if his promises become policy and what it all means for Scotland. Laura Alderman, STV News.
Our political editor Colin Mackay is outside the US consulate in Edinburgh. So Colin, what did you make of it?
This is the biggest comeback since Lazarus. Donald Trump himself described it as a magnificent victory. If anything, that's an understatement, not something that he's known for. This is an incredible election win after losing the last time round, and it shows just how important Trump's economic message was to voters, telling them that he'd make them better off. This was a proudly populist campaign, possibly the most populist campaign ever, and it paid off.
And Colin, what's the political reaction here?
Well, back in 2016, the first time he was elected, there were protests on the streets around Scotland. And I think tonight there's probably a lot of people who are struggling to get their heads round how this can have happened again. But I'm not detecting the same kind of likelihood or outcry of protest or outcry tonight. The First Minister has sent a letter of congratulations, a very short letter, just 3 paragraphs long, 107 words. He would rather Kamala Harris had won, but he's got to work with what he's got. And what he's got is Donald J. Trump, the 47th President of the United States of America. And we all know Donald Trump's Scottish connections. His mother was from the Western Isles. He has the 2 golf courses. But the last time he was president, he slapped a whopping big tariff on single malt whisky imports to America. The industry reckons that cost about £600 million at the time. Throughout this campaign, he has promised to put 20% tariff on all imports. And there's fears tonight that could cost Scottish jobs.
Colin in Edinburgh, thank you. Meanwhile, Westminster has also been focused on the US result as the new Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, faced off against Keir Starmer at Prime Minister's Questions for the first time. Well, our Westminster correspondent Paris Goutsianis was watching. So Paris, how did it unfold?
Well, John, Labour prepared for this first showdown with Kemi Badenoch by setting a series of traps, planted questions raising controversial things she said in the past on maternity pay, support for children with autism, and her claim that the Partygate scandal may have been overblown. But after last night's dramatic result in the United States, the new Tory leader had a few traps of her own, starting with Keir Starmer's meeting with Donald Trump just a few weeks ago.
Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologise for making derogatory and scatological references, including, and I quote, Trump is not only a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath, he is also a profound threat to the international order.
The Foreign Secretary and I did meet President-elect Trump just a few weeks ago for dinner. It was a very constructive exercise.
Given that most of his cabinet signed a motion to ban President Trump from addressing Parliament, will the Prime Minister show that he and his government can be more than student politicians by asking you, Mr. Speaker, to extend an invitation to President Trump?
The Leader of the Opposition is giving a masterclass on student politics.
And Paris, how is Donald Trump's victory being received at Westminster?
Well, the UK government has been bracing for this. Getting that Trump Tower dinner was one of Keir Starmer's top priorities. And we heard about the risk of a trade war. A Trump presidency also shakes things up on tackling climate change, regulating big social media companies, and especially fighting the war in Ukraine. Across Europe, there's pressure now to boost military spending because the US can no longer be relied on to ride to the rescue. That's great news if you work in the defense industry, not great news if you're the Chancellor trying to balance the books. And Trump and Brexit have always been seen as 2 sides of the same political coin, but this result in the United States might end up pushing the UK closer to Europe.
Paris at Westminster, thank you. Police say firework-related disorder on Bonfire Night was down on the level seen on the same day last year. That's despite the force and colleagues in the fire brigade being bombarded with pyrotechnics and bricks in Glasgow and Edinburgh. Campaigners say fireworks should be banned. Lewis Mickey reports.
These were the sorts of scenes communities didn't want to see repeated on bonfire night. This video from the Niddrie area of Edinburgh. But several other parts of the city were on the wrong end of firework-related disorder last night. This is Sight Hill. This morning, a car dealership nearby picking up the pieces in the aftermath. And in the Pollokshiels area of Glasgow, this roundabout tells the story. But police say this was an improvement on last year.
I'm encouraged by the fact that overall we saw less serious disorder, but I'm really disappointed still that we did see a large number of people, particularly in the Edinburgh and Glasgow area, who did seek to attack police, fire service and communities.
The evidence remains in Niddrie today. Locals say they can't go on like this.
Not safe to go out, not safe at all. I think they should all be conscripted back to the army. That'll teach them some discipline.
It's a shame that they have to do that. They could do with more sort of maybe community events that might help sort of distract a bit of the attention.
It wasn't the fireworks that was making all noise, it was the police. There was more shout, there was rioting, didn't you? But it wasn't as bad as last year. But the police caused most of that trouble last night.
Here in Niddrie, as well as other problem areas in the capital, there was a fireworks control zone set up. What that means is that police have extra powers, such as the ability to stop and search people and vehicles. Even before it was dark here last night, there was a heavy police presence and they were already in protective gear. And while the force doesn't believe that's ever going to stop the disorder happening, they do think it will help them to control it. In Pollokshiels, the intention was for a firework control zone to be in place, but the council missed the deadline. Dave Evans works in pyrotechnics. His wife's cafe sits in the area often worst impacted. He feels more regulation is needed at the point of sale.
Some of the things that we've found that have been fired, I'm able to tell that these are sizable fireworks and certainly not the sorts of things that you'd be expecting to be set off in any sort of domestic environment, and certainly not in such an enclosed space as this.
No matter what the solution, communities across Scotland are hoping they won't be dealing with this come November the 5th, 2025. Oh, you Lewis Mickey, STV News, Edinburgh.
To a story about the pioneering power of artificial intelligence and how it's being used by the National Health Service in Scotland. One woman whose lung cancer was caught early with the help of AI has praised the incredible speed of her diagnosis and treatment. Diane McCallum was referred for a chest x-ray after struggling with a long-term persistent cough and says the AI software that flagged up an abnormality and placed her case in a priority pile saved precious time. Caitlin Hutchison reports.
6 short months ago, Diane was given a shock cancer diagnosis. But now she's cancer-free and having preventative chemotherapy to make sure it doesn't come back, and says the use of artificial intelligence to speed up her journey to treatment was incredible.
Within 7 weeks of meeting the consultant, I had an operation. That would, 7 weeks without the pilot, without AI, 7 weeks down the line, I might not even be in diagnosis yet. I would have still been getting scans and things. And my tumour had grown within that 7 weeks. So how much would it have grown if I'd had to wait longer? I've just got a wee 1-year-old granddaughter, so that was the whole scare. Like, my goodness, we're not going to see her grow up.
The QXR software has been used in all outpatient chest x-rays as part of a trial across NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde for the past year. It means that those who fall and break a rib, for instance, are being screened even when there's no suspicion of cancer, so problems can be identified at a much earlier stage.
An abnormality was found almost immediately after the x-ray was performed, and her x-ray report went in a priority queue, which meant the radiologist got to report that first, and the normal ones are put in a different, slower queue. And that resulted in Diane getting her CT scan quickly, an appointment with us quickly to be seen in clinic, and then diagnosis and management of her cancer was dealt with quickly.
Since the dawn of AI, there have been fears around its potential abuse, or that it could accidentally lead to poor decisions, which is why researchers are dedicated to ensuring its safe and ethical use in healthcare settings.
What we don't want to do is have technology replace humans and the workforce, but what we want to do is use the data we have about patients to make sure the right people get access to the right human clinical care at the right time.
The way I envision it is that AI would be part of their standard processes. It wouldn't be an additional software, which is what it's perceived at the moment. It would be as standard practice and just used as part of daily care.
At present, around 40 to 50% of patients present with advanced or stage 4 cancer. But if we can speed up the time and accuracy of chest x-rays, we can spot cancer earlier and help more patients like Diane.
Just so impressed by the whole thing, and so grateful that I did get diagnosed so quickly and the wheels were put in motion so fast.
Caitlin Hutchison, STV News.
Brahman has the sport.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Black Friday event.
Good evening. Callum McGregor believes Celtic's 3-1 win over RB Leipzig proves they belong in the Champions League. Brendan Rodgers' side fought back from a goal down, with Nicholas Kuhn scoring twice and Rio Hatate netting the other. Here's Ronnie Charters.
Difficult for teams, both home and away, and just step by step become that. So, and we can't look any further than that. It's a great performance. It was a great night for the football club, and we'll take that energy into our next games.
The games we've had a bit of a point to prove in terms of the work ethic of the team, and everyone's together, and you've got to fight for everything at this level, and I think that's shown the players that has to be the start point for games like this. So when the games come along, we have to show the same attitude, and then hopefully we can bring the same quality.
Just a really, really special moment to score my first 2 Champions League goals here at Celtic Park is unbelievable.
The result sees Celtic sitting pretty in the league phase of the competition. After 4 matches, they sit 13th in the table with 7 points. Next up, Club Brugge at Celtic Park, with 1 more win, all but securing at least a playoff spot.
As players, we're excited, but we know it's not done yet. We still got more games left in this kind of group phase, and we want to maximise our points from it. But I think if tonight we kind of showed the.
Tom Lawrence has been ruled out of Rangers' Europa League match away to Olympiacos due to injury, but Ridvan Yilmaz has travelled with the squad to Greece. The players trained in Auchenhowie this morning. Yilmaz hasn't played since August because of an injury. Philippe Clement's side and Olympiacos both have 6 points from the first 3 games in the tournament.
It's a nice place to go. It's always hot there, not only because of the sun, but also because of the fans. It's a totally different game. It's not a game where you need to be dominant all the time. It's a team with a lot of physical qualities, but also technical qualities, very attacking minded.
Neil Critchley says there's an extra sense of anticipation around Hearts as they prepare to face German side Heidenheim in the Conference League tomorrow night. Critchley believes his side can be a match for the Bundesliga outfit in front of a packed out Tynecastle Park. Jamie Borthwick reports.
They couldn't have dreamed of a better start to their European campaign with a maximum 6 points from 6. But Hearts are about to face their toughest test yet.
When you're meeting certain teams from certain parts of Europe and footballing world, German teams, Bundesliga teams, it does create that little bit more anticipation in the type of game you might be playing, and watching them play and seeing how good they are. We know we're in for a big test, but if we can play a game that we want to play, then we know that we're going to be, it'll be a really good game, and it will be a really good match for them.
Critchley has won 3 of his 5 games in charge, with Hearts lifted off the foot of the Premiership table, and their form in Europe has been a galvanising factor for the squad.
Yeah, obviously we've struggled definitely the first 10 or so games to pick up any results, and look, we're just trying to find our feet still and under the new manager and get to playing at a consistently good level again. You can't really just flick a switch and win every game as much as you'd like to. Had a couple of good results in Europe so far, and we just want to continue that theme. Obviously tomorrow is going to be a very tough ask, but look, we're all excited and can't wait to be out there.
Heidenheim are here in Edinburgh with their own 100% record in this competition to preserve. It'll be a tall order for Hearts to take down a Bundesliga side, but a packed Tynecastle Park tomorrow night knows that any points from this match will all but guarantee knockout phase football after Christmas. Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport.
Now, after Kilmarnock defender Stuart Finlay was ruled out for several months after sustaining knee ligament damage, Derek McInnes says Finlay is as valuable to his team as Cameron Carter-Vickers is to Celtic. Kelly host the champions on Sunday. Finlay will spend a lengthy period on the sidelines. He was stretchered off against Dundee at the weekend.
Could be from 2 to 3 months to 4 to 6 months potentially for the worst case scenario on the scan, so it's still up for debate that, and hopefully gets a wee bit of good news, and that's what both of us are kind of talking about and kind of hoping for. Stu, as I said, has almost been perfect for us. It's the equivalent of Carter Vickers coming out of the Celtic team for that team. That's how big an influence he is.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Black Friday event.
And that, folks, is all your sport tonight. It's a big night for Celtic in the Champions League last night, John. Tomorrow it's Hearts and Rangers who take centre stage.
Let's hope they do as well.
Indeed.
Well, man, thank you. Sean, how's the weather?
Light winds rolling in from the west. We'll be joined by some very welcomed ice creams. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Very good evening to you. Now, the weather's been pretty stagnant for the last week or so. We've had high pressure around, no particularly heavy rain or strong winds around, certainly no named storms either. Things quite quiet just now, staying that way for the foreseeable, but unfortunately still an awful lot of stubborn cloud in that high pressure cell. And with the air coming in from the south, the best of any sunshine over the next couple of days, unfortunately for us, is going to be across Murray, Inverness and the North Highlands. So for many of us, we still hang on to cloud, some light drizzly showers at times. Because we've got a southerly airflow though, the southern uplands may be breaking some of that cloud at times, parts of Lanarkshire and also across lights of Lorne, maybe some of the hills here breaking that cloud up too. But for most of us, a lot of cloud the next few days. Temperatures overnight tonight, again, very mild for the time of year, 12, 13 degrees. Just to give you an idea of how mild that is for this time of year, during the day it should be 10 or 11 degrees Celsius, so 12 or 13 by night is way above average for the time of year. Now tomorrow it will be a little bit windier, a bit breezier around parts of the Hebrides. Again, an awful lot of cloud around, the best of any brightness as we head a wee bit further north, and there'll still be a few showers. Temperatures 13 to 15 degrees Celsius, where they've been now for quite a while, so still a good few degrees above average. So for the next couple of days, the weather really not changing much. We're still going to see a lot of cloud coming going, particularly so southern and western parts with some light drizzly showers, and still for the time being remaining on the mild side as well. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, a humpback whale has been successfully rescued after becoming trapped in old fishing lines in Loch Fyne. A specialist team raced from across the UK to save the creature with support from locals. As Laura Piper reports.
This was the sight facing rescuers at dawn on Tuesday. A humpback whale in distress, anchored to the bottom of a loch by old fishing ropes, with only just enough room above water to breathe.
There was 3 ropes around its head. 2 of them were going from different sides through its mouth. And then another 3 wraps around the body. One of the crew members was held by the ankles and supported from the back, leans over the side and managed to cut one of the wraps off.
Humpback whales can grow to 49 feet and weigh up to 40 tonnes, meaning rescue attempts can be dangerous. For this experienced team, though, calm and patient efforts paid off, helped by locals eager to lend a hand.
People were offering accommodation and hot drinks and things like that. It was just awesome. She rested for a while, and then she started making her way down south, and there were reports of her swimming back out to open sea, which was just phenomenal. There was a lady there, Louisa, who actually showed me a video of the whale coming right up to the shoreline next to our house and just gave a wee blow, and she dropped her phone You know, she was so startled by it, but it was almost like it was just saying goodbye, which was really quite sweet. You know, it really kind of touched at the heartstrings a little bit.
More than 300,000 whales and dolphins die each year from entanglements and fishing gear. This whale, though, is one of the lucky ones and will hopefully have a safe journey ahead out at sea. Laura Piper, STV News.
A happy ending with some remarkable pictures. From all of us here, thank you for watching. Have a good night.